If you haven't been too distracted by everything going on with the holiday season, mortgage rates have been coming down. Inventory is a little bit all over the place. So in today's video, I want to talk you through not only the update now that we have the final data and what actually happened in November, but I want to talk you through exactly what I'm seeing so far in December and make some projections based off of all of that good data. So let's dive right in. Just in case this is your first market report that you're watching with me, I want to talk you very quickly through how we do this. So we start with where we were, we tackle and some visualizations where we actually are in the present, and then we project out for what is likely to happen in the future. So with that out of the way, let's dive right in. So like I mentioned, the mortgage rates have decreased. We've been having decreasing mortgage rates basically for 2 months running. We've gone from over 7% down to now where we are at about 5.75%. So that has gotten much more palatable as inflation data has come in. So that's all good news on that front. With inventory, again, this time of year, we typically do see a decrease starting in October and it runs down through January. Last year was a bit of an anomaly at about a 40% decrease. Now we're looking at about 5% in total after having another decrease of 2% down from November and 3% from October to November. So all of that, again, is basically what I would expect. The one thing that I was curious to keep an eye on is if things are as bad as they say, wouldn't we see inventory actually increase or stay stagnant? But that's not happening. So there is still demand out there. There's still sales happening. So it is not the end all be all. Again, I've been very candid. I originally thought we would have seen 5 to 10% price declines by now. But what I didn't expect is that mortgage rates would have been coming down. So it's taken some of the sting out of that equation for some buyers, not everybody though. Now, the days on market, we're starting to see a divergence. So again, if you've listened to the last market update, and if you haven't, I'm going to link it down in the description below. Check that out because what we saw is that the single family world was really appearing to be ripe for a correction or some shift, but we hadn't seen it yet. Now, that said, not all the data had come in for November, even though I waited a week after everything should have been updated in the MLS. But last but not least, we finally got the last one in there. And what happened, and I'll talk through this here in a minute in more detail when we get the charts going, is we actually did see a price decline, the first one that we've seen in the single family space. So that was more along the lines of what I expected to see based on inventory increasing, your months of inventory increasing, and your days on market increasing. All signs that something had to give, and it appears it finally did. So condos still another world. Days on market are still very low. They're increasing slightly, but not in a material way for me to say, hey, I expect to see the same in the condo world. That's just not the case. Prices have been stable, still 11% year over year. So even if some have dropped a little bit, still very, very strong growth there. In fact, second increase in a row in prices year over year growth. Normally, even if the prices flattened out, we would start to see that year over year percent growth start to decrease. But we actually have seen 2 in a row where it's increased. We'll see if it holds though. Again, we're not through the month yet, and one sale or two here or there could change that number. So let's take a look. So again, with the blue bars, that is the last few Decembers. And something I want to highlight here, right? This is pending sales. You may look at that and go, oh my gosh, that is a measly little blue bar out in December 2022. But look back, and I explained this in one of the posts I put out there recently in the private Facebook group. And if you're not a member of that, click the link down below. There's a lot more stuff that I share in there on top of what you're seeing here. Every November to December for the past 4 years running now, we've had a decline in amount of homes that have gone under contract, which makes sense. It's the holiday season. It's a seasonality shift in demand. Now, right now, we were sitting at about a 39% decrease from November to December, which is identical to the percent decline back in 2019, as you see, actually. Oh, there we go, right there, 39%. If another 2 properties go under contract, we're going to get closer to what you see in the other 2 years of 2020 and 2021, about a 25 to 27% decline. So again, we're right on track with what we would be seeing in a normal year if you look back at 2019. So the fact that it's a low number, don't lose the forest for the trees here. And we want to make sure that, again, we put some context to it. So this is what I would have expected in a normal market. Now for closings, again, we've held fairly stable now for the last 6 or so months. Obviously a decline from what we saw in the spring and prior years before that. But again, inventory is a lot lower than it has been before 2020. So Again, this is actually pretty fair activity based on history. Now, here's what I wanted to highlight. So in November, we did see the months of inventory. Again, how long would it take? How many months would it take us to sell all the actively listed single family homes, if not another one listed, and they all sold? So we were looking at 8 months, which we haven't seen maybe ever here on the island. That's a bold statement. Don't hold me to that. Obviously, if I had the data to support it, I would make a definitive claim. But we've actually stepped back now because we had a strong month of closings in December with 18 projected to close that will put us back with where we were in October. And that is a decline. Now, is that going to be a 1 month decline? Are we going to see another one in January? I don't want to speculate on that front. I think we're going to stay in the 6 to 7 month range, which again, sounds great and looks great based on what we see in the past, but really that's just a balanced market. So again, nothing is screaming that prices are going to come crashing down when we look at the data. Now, again, here's the big one. So when I did this market update, the November bar was actually another increase, but after we had another, I believe it was 6 properties that the sale data was brought in, that dropped the median price down for our first reduction that we've had since I've been tracking this over the last 3 years. And we are on pace for that to be roughly flat. But again, this is a small sample size. All it will take is one to skew that up or down. But point being, we did see something break. We saw something give. After continual increases, we saw our first decline. And if we stay where we are, that's going to start coming down as some of those other months of history fall off. Now, again, days on market here, we're seeing a pretty significant increase month to month. And I would expect that to stay. Again, that's going to fluctuate with that months of inventory chart. If months of inventory is high, then days on market is likely to go high and vice versa. So all that tells me, again, that I would expect the single family market to start to slow down. And we have seen that now, not only in November, we're seeing that in December so far as well. This is going to be a little bit different on the condo side. It's a little stronger and more stable of a market. There's also more data out there. There's more volume. So it's not going to vary as much based on one particular either high or low sale. But we have another month of increasing months of inventory, still well under 6. And again, 6 is that neutral market, stable market. So we have a ways to go before I would say definitively that we would expect anything to change. Now, I know I had highlighted, and I'm going to cover this down at the end when we go into projections. I know I mentioned on the last video or two that I was aware of some condo sales that were going to be well under the asking price that I thought would start to roll through the statistics here. But that's not what we're seeing, not only in November, where we had yet another increase, but December so far looks like a big increase. Again, I'm going to urge caution there. This is not the full month of data. There will be more that close that could alter that and likely will alter that, probably closer down to where we were in November, if I had to speculate. But the key here is that what I was seeing as anecdotes, and that's why we don't just rely on, hey, my experience is such. We have to look at the data as a whole. Some of those homes that were selling for under asking price were offset by other properties that went under contract quickly that were totally knocked out, turnkey, great views, the perfect home that people want. They're offset by those prices. So that really hasn't had an impact. Now, again, days on market here, we're still very low, especially by historical norms when we were above 70. Now we're still sitting down in the, if I move my fat head out of the way, down under 40. So it's going to take a while for us to start to see any material ramp up for that to really have an impact. So let's talk about where we're going here projection wise. So mortgage rates is an interesting topic. Last week's video, I obviously sat down with Kate Logue, who was with Citizens Bank. She's an absolute rock star in helping people find the right product. And she is a local resident. She knows how to work what we have going on here to make sure you close on time. So I would always recommend giving her a shout if you have any questions or if you're curious about what products are out there that can help take some of the brunt off of the mortgage rates. That said, the brunt off the mortgage rates that people were trying to take off over the last few months has worked its way off naturally as a result of some of the Fed actions here. And obviously we did see, and again, Kate and I talked about this in detail. Make sure you check that out. Link is down in the description if you want to really get deeper into the conversation. But the Fed reduced the rate of increase, right? They still increased their Fed funds rate, but not by as much. Went from 75 basis points for a few months down to 50 basis points. So all in all, it's a good thing if you're looking at a housing standpoint. But ultimately, again, I would expect that we stay roughly where we are. Could it spike? Yes. Could it decrease again? Yes. there's a lot that can play here, and something that I've really chewed on, and I know I felt this personally over the last few years. We went from this idea of security before COVID to this reality of complete uncertainty. And that has been toyed with really over the last few years. We're kind of on the seesaw of which way are things going to go. But I truly believe there is no certainty, there is no security in the direction that anything could go or for how long. All it takes is one crazy thing to happen out there in the world that really could cause all of our security ideas to come crumbling down. So that said, with everything that we do here in Ocean City, right, this is about making memories. This is about taking action and being decisive. And I understand if that's not something that most people are comfortable doing. And that's ultimately why most people don't end up with a home here. But with an opportunity like this, with rates coming down, could they come down further? Sure. Could they go up further? Absolutely. We don't know. But the fact that some of the sting has been taken off of these rates, and you still have sellers out there who need to incentivize buyers to really move forward with purchasing their property, you still have the opportunity to get these lower by getting the seller to pay points. All that does is buy down your interest rate on your loan. So there's a hell of an opportunity here, if I want to put it very bluntly, that I candidly don't know how long that's going to last. It may still be there in the spring. I hope it is. But I think if there's a home out there that makes sense for you, I think this is an ideal time to at least have the conversation about what it would look like and can it work. Now, with mortgage rates now in the rearview mirror, inventory, right? Again, we had a huge decline from October through January in 2021, about 40%. That's highly abnormal. It's actually crazy, frankly. What we're seeing now, 5% so far, is more normal. Usually we end up in the 10 to 15% decline range in a normal market. So if we end up there again, I think that's another, feather in my hat, so to speak, to say that we are achieving more of a normal market. If things are less than that, then obviously it's going to be a less normal market and we should expect some change, but it hasn't happened yet. If that follows through the spring and there's still not a lot of activity and sellers really decide that they need to sell, maybe we see things change. But for now, I expect things to stay pretty sticky from a pricing standpoint. And speaking of pricing, again, the single family nugget that changed from the video I put out last month with the market update, and where we are now, what we saw in November was actually a decline in prices. That was great. And again, single families where I think there's still going to be a decent amount of opportunity in the coming months, especially on new construction, because there's a lot of that being built still and a lot of it not selling. There will be pockets of opportunity. And again, unfortunately, I can't do the best buys videos anymore, where I used to talk about other brokers' listings. That was a no-no. So I'm still highly aware of where these pockets and opportunities are, but I can't broadcast them on a outlet like this. So if you have something you're looking for, make sure that you reach out to me. I'd be happy to let you know if I think there's an opportunity that would fit the bill. But in general, right, I think the single family world, we've covered enough. In the condo world, we're starting to see a divergence here between homes that need work and homes that don't. The homes I was aware of that I mentioned that were going to be, a good bit below asking, they were homes that needed work, and they're being offset by the homes that don't in terms of pricing, right? They're not coming much off of asking price, maybe 1% or 2%. A lot are still going for asking price. So ultimately, the values are going to be on homes that need the work. And I know that's an uncomfortable thing. The biggest concern I've heard from buyers about pursuing a property like that is they don't have any contacts down here, right? They don't know who would do the work. They don't know what it's going to cost. Well, enter me, your real estate agent and your expert networker here. If you have any hesitation about that, I have contacts in any possible field to talk through, to bring through a property and get quotes for. So what you're going to be getting into. So that's where the opportunities are going to be in the coming months. So that's what I would keep an eye out for. If you're looking strictly for something, whether it's new construction or turnkey, you're still going to have to pay the premium for those types of properties because that's still the highest pocket of demand. Now, again, last but not least, days on market, we're going to see those still creeping upward, especially in the single family world as those new constructions sit there. And condos, again, they're creeping up. I don't think they would go up too much more to a point where I would be concerned of anything reversing course. So with all of that said, I appreciate you spending time with me. If you have any questions, you can either drop them down in the comments below. That way everybody else can benefit from the question and answer that'll be down there, or you can reach out to me directly any of these ways. So thanks again, and I will see you on the next video.